All right, let's dive in. You know how X is, just constant motion. Today we're doing something a bit different, a super fast rundown, daily vibe casting. Just hitting what's hot right now.
Exactly. No deep dives today. Just the pulse, what's trending, what people are reacting to, like immediately.
Okay, first up, seems like tariffs and manufacturing are absolutely blowing up.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
Got this post here from @SpencerAkimian. He's Tolu Capital Management global macro guy.
Right. Knows his stuff.
He posted this yesterday, April 12th. Listen, so let's just get this crystal clear. If somebody is trying to manufacture a laptop in the U.S., the components that they import are going to be tariffed at 145%. But if somebody simply makes the laptop entirely in China, they're fully tariff-free.
Wow.
And he ends it with, and this is all to bring, I mean, you could feel the disbelief, right?
Yeah, that's quite the setup. So import parts, massive tariff. Import the whole thing, no tariff.
Seems like it. How does that encourage making things here?
Well, it doesn't seem to, does it? It raises a huge question about the policy's actual effect versus, maybe the intended effect. Finished tech goods like laptops and phones are exempt. So big companies benefit.
But the little guys making components domestically.
They could be in a really tough position. Seems like it might actually incentivize offshoring the whole process.
And then, wouldn't you know it, right after that starts bubbling up, Unusual Whales drops this.
Uh-oh. Unusual Whales always digs up something interesting.
Get this. U.S. politicians buying stock in companies whose products are exempt from these tariffs before the announcement.
Oh, come on. Seriously.
Yeah, they named Marjorie Taylor Greene, saying she bought shares in Apple, Amazon, Dell, Nike, AAPL, EMZ, and Dell, Nike. April 3rd, April 4th. The policy hits April 12th.
That's a very close timing, a week before.
Unusual Whales calls it unusual, naturally, and says these stocks went up afterwards. Coincidence.
Well, it certainly raises eyebrows. Optically it looks suspect, and it feeds right into those ongoing concerns about potential conflicts of interest or, informed trading.
Has anyone official picked up on this?
Yeah, Senator Elizabeth Warren is apparently calling for the SEC to investigate, see if any non-public info is used.
Okay, so that's stirring the pot. And it all plays into the wider U.S.-China thing, obviously.
Yes, absolutely. Which brings us to @BricsInfo.
What'd they post?
They quoted China saying basically the United States cannot impose its will on all the other countries in the world. And there's this picture of Xi Jinping looking very determined.
Direct shot back, feels like, tied to the tariffs.
Almost certainly. It's part of that ongoing trade tension, that resistance to what China likely sees as unilateral pressure. And remember, there was that study back in 2023 suggesting these kinds of broad tariffs might not even work as planned, could even backfire.
Right, complexity on complexity. Okay, let's pivot slightly, but still on manufacturing. At Frank Lunt's shared poll data.
Oh, yeah, the Cato Institute poll from 2024.
That's the one. He highlights this gap. 80% of Americans think more U.S. manufacturing jobs are good. Good for the country.
Okay.
Sounds about right.
But only 25% think they personally would be better off working in a factory. And only 2% actually do.
Huh. That's a really interesting disconnect, isn't it? We like the idea of factory jobs. Just maybe not for ourselves.
Exactly. What's that about?
Well, maybe it's perception versus reality. Some replies to Luntz pointed out, are people picturing old school factories or modern ones like Tesla's Gigafactory? Does the question capture that?
Good point. The image of manufacturing might need an update.
Could be. It's a fascinating snapshot of public opinion, though.
Definitely. Okay, shifting gears completely now. History and international relations.
Right.
India's Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, posted today, April 13th, it's the anniversary of the Jallianwala Bagh massacre.
A very somber anniversary, 1919.
His post reads, "We pay homage to the martyrs of Jallianwala Bagh, their indomitable spirit. A dark chapter. Their sacrifice became a major turning point in India's freedom struggle." Powerful words. It was 106 years ago today, a truly horrific event, British troops firing on unarmed protesters.
And Modi calls it a turning point.
It absolutely was. It galvanized the independence movement, really exposed the brutality of colonial rule. It's still deeply felt.
Yeah, you can sense the weight. Okay, From historical reflection to current diplomacy. El Salvador.
What's happening there?
President Nayib Bukele posted a picture. Just a water bottle on a plain tray table.
Okay.
Cryptic caption. It's real. This ain't a drill. Apparently it means he's flying to the U.S.
Of course.
A White House meeting with President Trump. tomorrow, April 14th.
Ah, okay. Big meeting. Any idea what about?
Immigration and security seems to be the focus.
Makes sense. There's been cooperation on deportation, especially gang members. The signals that continues.
And Bukele then reposted a quote from Trump.
Okay.
Trump called him President B, praised their work on terrorism, prosperity.
President B.
Yeah, and Trump highlighted El Salvador detaining violent deportees, mentioned Trend de Aragua MS-13 specifically.
Well, Bukele's big claim to fame is the dramatic drop in El Salvador's homicide rate. That's undeniable, though some do question the stats' transparency.
Right, but the narrative is strong. Security focus.
Definitely. Shows that personal connection between the leaders, too.
Okay, speed round continues. Entertainment news. Oh, bad news for Mindhunter fans.
No, don't tell me.
Yep. At the Synesthetic posted David Fincher confirmed Season 3 isn't happening.
Why not? The show is brilliant.
Cost versus viewership, according to Fincher via Netflix. Quote, "It's a very expensive show, and we didn't attract enough of an audience to justify such an investment."
Ouch. Even with that, 99% Rotten Tomatoes score for Season 2.
Apparently. Critics loved it. Seems like maybe not enough eyeballs for Netflix's bottom line. Paired analytics showed high demand.
That's brutal. Shows how tough the streaming game is. Quality isn't always enough if the numbers aren't massive. Fans must be gutted.
Totally. Okay, speaking of losing access, this one might hit home for gamers.
Uh-oh. What now?
At Peanut Butter Jim Adair posted he's lost access to Minecraft.
What?
Didn't merge his old Mojang account with his Microsoft account.
Yeah.
And he says he bought the game 15 years ago.
Oh, man. Yeah, Microsoft pushed that migration hard. There was a deadline, right? March 2023.
Yep, he missed it. He's asking, basically, how is this legal? He paid for it.
And that's the million-dollar question about digital ownership, isn't it? You buy it, but do you own it? Or just license it? The terms of service usually cover this stuff, but it feels rough for longtime players. There was that California law in 2024 trying to make warnings about revocable licenses clearer.
Right, because this keeps happening. You think you own something digitally, then poof.
Exactly. It's a huge ongoing debate.
All right, let's lighten the mood. Streamer news. I show Speed.
Speed. What's he doing?
He's on an Asia IRL tour. At eShow Speed, Siri posted pics. Looks like China, maybe the Forbidden City.
Yeah,
Mongolia too.
Cool. He always goes all out.
Totally. There's a pic of him in this wild floral suit, just soaking it all in. Apparently his streams in Indonesia were huge.
Yeah, that cultural immersion stuff, when it's genuine, people connect with it. His energy is infectious, even if, chaotic sometimes.
Definitely high energy. Okay, back to business, kind of. TikTok trends.
Always something buzzing there.
At Taneka Askew highlighted this. Chinese warehouses on TikTok selling leggings that look just like Lululemon for $5.
$5 compared to, what, 100?
Exactly. She's pointing out the massive markup and how this direct-to-consumer thing is just exploding.
Yeah, TikTok Shop is wild. You see these crazy deals, raises questions about authenticity, quality, sure, but also about traditional retail pricing. And with China opening up visa-free travel, does that make direct buying even easier? Interesting angle.
For sure. Okay, quick social commentary hit. At Wisdom HQ.
Right, they do those hard rules threads.
This one's short and sharp. Jealousy comes in jokes. Pay attention.
Ooh, that's insightful. Like passive-aggressive digs masked as humor.
Pretty much. That little barb that's maybe not just a joke.
Yeah. Psychologists talk about that. Masked envy. Makes you think about interactions differently. Good one.
Okay, back to the economy roller coaster. At Tony reporting.
That's the latest.
U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick says tariffs on semiconductors and electronics are coming soon. Like in about a month.
Wait, I thought those were exempt.
They were. This reverses that. Big change.
Whoa, that's going to cause ripples. Huge ripples. Supply chains for tech?
Yeah, could be major disruption.
Yeah.
What are people saying online?
Not happy. Lots of frustration, suspicion about the timing and the impact on prices. People bracing for things to get more expensive.
Understandable. All right, political angle now. At Rep. Thomas Massey.
What's his take? Usually something about government reach.
Spot on. He's arguing real ID isn't needed to stop terrorists.
Okay, how so?
He points out the 9/11 hijackers mostly used passports from places like Saudi Arabia, Egypt, foreign documents.
So his point is a U.S. domestic ID standard wouldn't have stopped them.
Exactly. He frames real ID as more about government control over citizens, not external threats. He's always been against surveillance stuff.
And that enforcement date is coming up soon, right? May 7th?
May 7th, 2025.
Yep.
So the debate is timely.
Consistent with his views, for sure. But Real ID has its defenders arguing for security standards.
Always two sides. Okay, media critique time. Jason Pargin.
The author at Jason Pargin.
Yeah, John dies at the end guy.
Yeah.
He's got beef with the one continuous take filming technique.
Oh, the long, unbroken shots like in 1917 or Birdman.
Exactly. He specifically calls out Apple TV's The Studio, saying, cannot emphasize enough the degree to which the one continuous take using a stupidly complicated setup does nothing for the audience.
Ah. So he thinks it's technique over substance, a gimmick.
Sounds like it. He feels it doesn't actually serve the story or the viewer. It's just showing off.
It's a fair debate. Sometimes it's amazing, adds immersion. Other times, yeah, maybe it is distracting. Depends on the execution.
True. Okay, quick fact check needed. Seeing a post from @FatFabFeminist
What's the claim?
claiming Trump's tariffs made China legalize counterfeit goods.
Wait, what? That sounds completely backward.
It is totally inaccurate. We checked. A 2025 Chinese government report actually shows stricter anti-counterfeiting laws, higher penalties.
Right. And Trump's tariffs were partly aimed at stopping counterfeit imports from China.
Exactly. So, yeah, that post is just spreading misinformation. Important to call that out.
Definitely. Okay, speaking of Trump and tariffs.
The official White House account actually reposted a Trump tweet from April 1st.
Reposted Trump. Interesting. What did it say?
It was him celebrating his tariff policy that started April 2nd. Mentioned the 10% tariff on all countries, though we know tech had exemptions initially.
And the reaction.
Predictably polarized, all over the map. Supporters cheering, opponents not cheering.
Standard reaction to anything tariff-related seems like. Highlights the ongoing divide.
For sure. All right, let's wrap this rapid fire round with something motivational.
Need that after all the policy whiplash.
@Dearson posted a graphic. It's the year 2025. First 4 months crossed out, labeled, "This is done."
And the rest of the year.
Labeled, "This is Yoop to you." The message. Dear son, you still got time. Lock in.
Nice. Simple, direct. That kind of actionable advice, often aimed at young guys, does well online.
Yeah, focus on what you can control. Good message.
Definitely a good note to end on.
Phew. Okay, that was a sprint through the X-verse today. Just a taste of what's buzzing.
Seriously fast. Tariffs, stocks, geopolitics, gaming woes, TikTok leggings. It's a lot.
It really is. And remember, this was just the surface level, the immediate vibe.
Yeah, each one of these could be its own hour-long discussion. We definitely encourage folks to click on those usernames, dig deeper if something caught their ear.
So thinking about all this, especially the tariff twists and the manufacturing debates,
Yeah.
maybe the question for today is, what does the future of making things actually look like if policies and perceptions keep shifting so dramatically?
That's a big one. Worth pondering.
Absolutely. Thanks for tuning into this daily Vibecasting. Keep your feed refreshed.
We'll catch you next time with more of the buzz.